Okay, I am live. Hi, everybody. Well, I am in my kitchen. I'm wearing my coach outfit today because I made a mistake. I guess I didn't record the other day when I did this whole second session. So here I am. I'll do the best I can. I know my stuff, so I never really have to worry. But I wanted you to feel the energy. I wanted you to be here with me and be live and keep my promises. And I said that I would put this up online for you, and here we go. Now, the only thing I ever worry about is makeup. I wish I could have my face lifted, but no time. So let's do something wonderful today. Let's talk about relationships in the Train the Trainer room. But before I actually get started, what I wanted to do was definitely cover a little bit of a review of what we did on session one, so that if you didn't get to go on session one, you do get to go. All right. The first thing is what I call intention. All right. I want you to know. I don't think you can see my slide, but I can. All right. So let's put it over here. All right. So you have to have an intention to create a safe environment. That's the most important thing in the world. A safe environment. If people are afraid, they won't learn. If people think that you're going to punish them, they will not learn. If they think you're going to criticize them, they will not learn. That is why it's so difficult to be a really great trainer, because we have all these things we have to do. We have to teach somebody something without making them feel wrong or stupid. And then we have to teach them how to pass it on to the next level, which is the customer. We have to do that. That is why trust is the most important thing in the world for a trainer. A trainer has to have the trust of the trainees. And you have to do that in what I call love me, trust me, in the first 20 seconds. And why? Because they judge you. They judge you. Well, you judge them too. I mean, that's what we do. We judge each other. So we have to not judge each other so much and really help people. I'm going to move this camera so I'm more to the top. That works. All right. How's my shirt? Okay. I'm all worried about my look good because I wasn't ready. So I'm just coming live. Hey, if the girl on that Lumi commercial cannot have any makeup on at all, I guess I can do it with just a touch of lipstick. All right. Here we go. All right, so always put definitions into the training. Very important, because your students have to understand what we're talking about. So if you're talking about intention, you need to define it. If you're talking about relationships, you need to define what you mean by a relationship, because if you don't, other people then will make it up to suit them. Okay? So never make that trainee feel wrong or stupid. That's the key. And we're going to talk about that from now until the end of this master class, because it is the most important thing. Okay? All right. Always make them feel smart and right to have come to your training. And by the way, that's exactly the same thing you're teaching them is what they need to do for the customer, to never make their customer feel wrong or stupid, and to always make the customer glad that they called. That's the important thing, that they are very glad that they called and got you. I always say, I'm glad that they got me. All right. So learn how to have an opening. That's all in session one, and you should go back and look at it, because I talked about how to address winning, because that's what the driver, the dominant, wants. To have fun and be social, that's what the the I personality, the influencer, that's what they want. And of course, the relationship people, the steady, stable relators, they want a relationship. They thought they went into customer service because they were going to serve. No one told them the truth, which was that customer relationships is all about the complaint department. Nobody tells them. It used to be called that, but they don't call that anymore. They now say customer engagement, customer relationship, customer care, customer service. Whatever you call it, it has to make the customer feel right, and you have to make your agent feel right. So that steady, stable relator is going to want to play on the team if you are sure that you address the fact that we are going to make this a relationship and that they are going to enjoy this relationship. And lastly, of course, the one you have to address in that opener is the analytical. Now, the analytical personality, we call them compliant, DIS and C. You can find it all over the internet. Compliant wants facts, details, information, backup, proof, because the D wants to win. The I wants to enjoy and have fun. The S wants a relationship, but the C, they want to be right. So we have to figure out ways to make sure that they get introduced to the training in session 1 on how to be right. Then there's the room setup. Now, I know most of you have rooms now in training centers all across America that have a big long table and everybody's got a computer in front of them, because most of the time they're being taught things on the computer. Now, I personally would remove them from the room, and I have done it. I've gone into training rooms and just absolutely taken out the computers, put them down on the floor. Because you see, I'm teaching soft skills, communication skills, conversation skills, being with each other skills. And in doing that, I want to look into their eyes. That's why I don't care that much for this internet training kind of stuff, because I can't see your face. I can't see your eyes. I don't know if you got it. So I'm going to count on that you're smart, that you came for your own intention, and that whatever happens, you're going to get what you came for. And that's what I want you to do. Write to me and tell me, this is what I came for, and this is what I want. You will get it. Assert yourself that way. It's a very smart thing to do. All right, so purpose and objectives. Now, let's talk about relationships. This is very, very key. Relationships. The most important thing to a customer is the relationship that you have, actually. They will act like all they want to do is get the job done, and many times that is true. But most of the time, they want to have relationships with you just as much as you want to have one with them. Believe me, if I go to a party and say I train customer service reps, every person will put their hand up and say, Judy, you weren't on the phone with me when I was, you should go train so-and-so. They don't know how to have a relationship. They will immediately go negative and complain. So you need to explain that a relationship means we are connected, and that I am here for only one reason, and that is to make sure you have a good experience with our company. That's all. I might not be able to fix every problem, but I will be able to give you certainty. I might not know the answers to every question, but I know I can find out. That's what you want to say. Learn the subtle skills and attitudes that are necessary to exceed. Now, we all say that. I mean, everybody wants to hear that nowadays. We want to exceed their expectations. Well, here's the thing. If you could just meet them, if you could just acknowledge them properly, that will be good enough. The customer doesn't even have big expectations anymore. I mean it. They really don't expect to be taken that good care of, okay? So you always want your company to have a little bit of a competitive edge. And by the way, you will if you have relationships. Mm-hmm. If you really can establish a relationship, they'll say, wow, you're a breath of fresh air. This is what we want. Then you want to, of course, the agent. Why do you think they're there? They're there because they want job satisfaction. They want to earn money for their family, for themselves, but they want satisfaction. They want to get up in the morning and be glad they're going to work. And that's part of the trainer job, to make sure the trainer understands that and explains that to the agent, so that if the agent will take the time, take the energy, take the feeling good about it, it will be what they came for. That's what they came for. All right. Now, one of the things that every time when I open a class, I always open it with the idea, well, what do you want? What do you want from me? And when I see what do they want from me, it's always how to handle the upset. I'm going to turn on a little brighter light here. That sun is coming right in, huh? Oh, I can't stop it now. I'll move over here a little bit. Good. So what they want to know immediately, if they got the chance to raise their hand, they would say, I want to handle those upset people, those mean people, those people who are not nice to me. So in this training, eventually you'll get all the details about how to do that. Today, we're just going to establish the fact that that's what they want, and you're the trainer, so you have to have it in your training for sure. So you're going to educate them, and you're going to give them soft skills. And what's going to happen because of that is they're going to like their job better. You see, the agent came with the idea that they want their life expanded. They have a right to that wherever they go to work. It's not just they do work and they get paid. They want to expand their life from the job that they have. They want to enhance their skill. Now, this is key to handle any conversation, and you need to tell them that. If you learn the llama technique, which by the way will be next week, if you learn the llama technique, you will know from then on how to control the path of any conversation. And by the way, that will do a couple of things for you. One, you will learn to build your own self esteem. Yes, you will learn to build your own self esteem. And if you can do that, what will happen is you will use the skills of communication to build that self esteem. So you will be able to speak to your species. Your training has to address that the trainee will build their skills by doing what you teach. And when they build their skills, they will build their self esteem. And they will be able to do the one thing that they really want to do, which is communicate with their species. That's what they want. And so you need to know how to do that. And we're going to cover that in such great detail. Can't imagine it. So you know that so far we've talked about these things. Intention to produce a result every time you walk into a classroom. Don't ever walk into a classroom to teach a class. Walk into a classroom to teach a class because you want the agents to go away mastering whatever it is you're teaching them so that they will have a better experience on the job. I mean, when your eyes light up at the joy of your student, your life will soar, I'm telling you. When I brought Sally in to work with me, my husband passed away, and he had already talked Sally into coming to work with us because he knew I couldn't do everything all by myself. Sally came to work with me. And after she did her own first training class, she called me from the airplane as she was waiting for the airplane to take off to come home. And she just said, Mom, thank you for teaching me this. This is the greatest job I've ever had in my whole life. It is so fulfilling. I am so lucky. I had a ball. I made some mistakes. I fixed them. I had a good time. I enjoyed myself like more than ever before. What she was before was a manager at Vons supermarket. And she left them and came with me. And it was quite an exciting experience for us to bring her aboard. And of course, she's done better than I did. That is the joy that you want as a teacher. You want your student to get up on your shoulders and take a leap. That's what you want. All right. Relationship is the second piece, and we already covered that. Three-party promise, I will cover it a little bit in the training. It's really Sally's training, but it means everybody agrees. I'll cover it, tips of that. I will, I promise. To have some how to set goals, how to get it all together goal wise. We're going to talk about that because you have to have that in every training. What's the point? What are we doing this for? We're not just here filling up time. We're here because we want to have the discipline to get the job done. That's what you have to have. And I know that's hard, especially if you're a creative person like me. I mean, I get attracted to shiny objects. Sally says, you always get attracted to shiny object. You can't finish on time. I know that's the truth. I always think I can't. I got to finish on time. I really have to finish on time. All right. So, and of course, the last thing is the skill. Now, skill, you'll notice that 1, 2, 3, 4 things are all about what's in your head. But the skill is the physical part. Now, the analytical personality wants to know what's the skill, what are the steps to the skill? A, listen. B, acknowledge. 3, C, make some type of statement, and D, ask a question. That's the llama. Listen, acknowledge, make a statement, ask a question. Next week, I'm going to teach that full boat, and you really have to learn this. In fact, I will put it out of the word that if you don't attend next week's class and review these two, you won't be able to come to all the rest of them because it won't make sense. Because everything will be based on intention to produce results, relationship to the client, never making the customer wrong or stupid, never making your trainee feel wrong or stupid, and only making both of them feel very glad that they came to be with you. And then the technique of how to speak it will be the llama. We'll put it down. I'll show you everything there is to know about that. But if you don't attend those classes, then the rest of them won't make sense, and I won't allow strangers to just come in on session 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, it doesn't matter. I won't allow that because they'll make me wrong. They will, because they will have missed intention. They will have missed relationship. They will have missed the discipline that's required to work from the overflow. And I don't want them to make me wrong. I'd rather them wait till the next master class, or when I put it up, or they can go, of course, onto the internet and pay for it. I mean, we've got it all on the internet. I think it's $400 or something like that. All right, so very good. So let's just quickly look at the three-party promise. See, the three-party promise means everybody who's connected to any given issue has to win. It's not I win, you lose, that way we all win. No, if I win and you lose, I don't win. You know, we had a circumstance just the other day. We were training a dental laboratory, and they had an issue with the fact that the dentist, their patient, their client, excuse me, customer, needed to use their laboratory for something. They had already booked with someone else that 1/2 hour of the laboratory. So they thought it was the right thing to do to stick to their guns to make sure that the one doctor couldn't get in and do what he needed to do. So he was getting angrier and making a bigger and bigger and bigger case. And finally, the boss said, we just can't do it. We have an agreement with this other person to have the lab at that time. And hung up. Their customer felt wrong and stupid. Their customer was angry. This was someone who puts thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of dental work into their lab every week. On the other hand, the other person who had the time might have been able to be moved an hour away. Maybe that would have happened. But they didn't even know. They just stuck to our truth, our promise, but you see, they have a bigger promise, and the promise is everybody has to win. And they didn't make any attempt to fix it. So Sally was training them, and Sally says, so what did you gain? And what did you lose by sticking to your guns like that? When maybe you could have said, Doctor, I understand your situation. I'm going to see if I can get that space cleared for you. You're our regular client. We love you, and we want you to come back and get the job done that you need to get done. So let me find out if I can call the other person, postpone them for an hour. That'll give you time to do it. And if it'll work for them, well, everybody will be happy. That's a three-party promise. And by the way, they ended up calling the secondary person and saying, could we do yours tomorrow? And that person said, oh, thank goodness. I was really stressed out to get there by 11 o'clock or whatever it was. And they called back the doctor and said, doctor, you can have our lab space for that. No problem at all. We got it all fixed up. Now, the doctor wins, the company wins, and their patients win. And the other client won. There was 4 parties involved in that one. So all solutions that really work for all 3 parties. Everybody makes promises. Everybody does that. What you've got to do is figure out ways that make sure the promises are kept so that everybody wins. It's not, I'll lose. No, that's not good either. And boy, that takes some work. And I want you to secure your own mind for this, because this is what's going to happen. You're going to want to know how to make it right and make it safe for all three parties involved. And that would be the customer, you, the company, and you. Everybody, the agent. That's why when you give an agent a script to read and they're uncomfortable with it, that's not a three-party promise. You need to figure out how they can say what you want them to say in their own words or in their own way that still gets the job done. Company still wins, customer still wins, and the agent still wins. And it can be done. All you have to do is change your mind. One of the things that happens all the time in my experience with training call centers is they get the idea that they say, we're never going to use scripts. We don't use scripts. We're above it. We don't use scripts. And within seconds of someone saying that, some agent will raise their hand and say, Judy, what should I say when the customer says no? Now, they might not call that a script, but I do. What are you going to say when the customer says no? Okay, so I will help them to write down how they can say something that'll really work well for them. Because we want the company to win. We want the customer to win, and we want the agent to win. It's really not a win, 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 win. That winning implies somebody has to lose. I laugh sometimes when I see somebody talking about give peace a chance. People don't want peace. They want to win. I mean, it's funny. But anyway, so let's talk about that for just a minute. You need to manage all of those opportunities. You need to initiate new conversations. And next week, I'll show you how to do it with the llama technique. And we're going to talk about llama for all the rest of the lessons because my training has been nicknamed the llama training. It's really a communication skills workshop, but everybody calls it llama. So I say, okay, it's fine with me. You need to give the customer what the customer expects. And by the way, we'll talk a lot about that in customer service pieces during this masterclass. Because the customer, you think they want to be right. They do want to be right, of course. But so does the agent and so does the company. So we have to figure out a way where everybody gets to be right. How will that work? Oh, yeah, we can figure that out. And we're smart. We can always do it because we're smart. We have a language that really works. We've got a language that spreads out over many, many spaces in life. And you want to have your agents be comfortable handling an upset or a difficult person. They're going to go, God, I wanted this class. I'm so glad I get to be in this class. Because what I get is to understand how to handle the difficulty of another person. And by the way, that works at home or anywhere else. All right, so intention, what is it? Intention in a relationship is to be determined in advance that this relationship is going to work between us. It's not determined in advance that I win and you lose. It's not determined in advance that the company gets to sell every widget they have in the garage to somebody who doesn't need it. That's not our intention at all. Our intention is to constantly build business, more business, more business. And if you don't think that's it, just sit down on the meeting of the C-suite in December or whatever the year end is for you and your company. All they're going to talk about is next year and how much better we can do it, how much more money we can make. It's got to be at least a 20% hit for next year. Well, how are we going to make that happen? That's the way it is. They want to build the business. You have to go forward, 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 because the universe doesn't stop. It just keeps moving. It never goes backwards. That's a joke. You can go back in time. You can't. And you want to serve the customer. Why? You want to serve the customer because the company will win and get lots more business from that customer. Also, you won't get the negative. The customer will not be speaking negatively about you to their friends. That really is a very big key to success in business. They might even tell you how wonderful you are, and once in a while they do. But the agent came to work for you so that they could serve somebody else. And we have to teach them how to do that with a safe environment for them, and teach them how to create the safe environment for the customer. and to use assumptions. Assume that the customer wants certainty. That's what I would always assume. They don't mind bad news. I'm telling you, everybody freaks out and says, well, we'll get it back to you ASAP, as soon as we can. This means nothing. As soon as we can means absolutely nothing. As soon as we can could be next week, next month. I need it tomorrow. As soon as we are able. No. Go find out and give me something definite, even if you have to call me back and cancel or change it. I deal with certainty. I'm happy with certainty. We cannot get that to you by 5 o'clock today. It's impossible. And by the way, it's impossible because we want to have the best, finest work and have it available to you for you to give to your customer or your patient or your client. We have to have the time enough to get that job done right. Will 10 o'clock tomorrow morning work for you? See, I'm always going to end on a question. I'm always going to make it safe. But I can't always give them what they want. Sometimes I have to tell them no. But I will use an assumption that makes them smart and right to accept it, meaning that I know that they want to have their customer or whoever they're talking to be happy. They do. That's what they want. So always use those kinds of things. I don't mean assume they'll buy. We'll talk about that when we start talking about selling. So I guess I've said this over and over again. But in the relationship of never making the customer feel wrong or stupid, in the relationship of always making the customer right and smart, here's what you do, how you do it. You do it through words and phrases that are a benefit to the customer. Not, this is my policy. Never say that. Never, ever say that. Never. I don't care a thing about your policy if I was the customer. I don't care a thing about your policy. Your policy doesn't matter to me. You can make up all the policies you want. Here's what I want. I love that. People think that if you tell the customer they're going to buy it when you say, well, that's not our policy. Because as soon as I say, well, that's not my policy either. I don't like your policy. Okay, so we want to use words and phrases that make people feel good. We want expressions of service. One of the things that we're really missing in the customer service world is something like, I have to move away from that. I'll do that. Is expressions of service. I'm so glad to serve you, Mr. Customer. Teach that to your agents. It's so nice to hear from you again, Mrs. McKee. Oh, Judy, I'm glad you called. How can I help you? If you're familiar with them, if you're friendly with them, I mean, I really don't want you to be familiar. Look that up in the dictionary. But I do want you to be friendly. So, I love to say things to people or teach agents, especially in customer service, who get an upset call all the time, all through the day. I always have them say something like, you know what? You did the right thing to call. You got me. I know my stuff around here. Or I know where to get it. I mean, something that says you did the right thing. You backed the right horse. You brought the right person. You called the right number. You got us. You got me. And I know my stuff. That kind of certainty cannot be bought in the world. Your customer, if they hear from your agent, the one you trained, that they did the right thing, that's all you will need to have a really nice phone call after that. So we'll give you solutions as we go along. We'll script it out in the Llama technique. Now, we, of course, do not want you ever to read scripts. No. But we want you to understand what's in it. You know, what will work for the customer. So we want to know in the essence of what we want said, the meaning and the emotion behind what is said, so that we can support the emotional need of our customer and do it in a way that is sincere, because we mean it. We do want long-term relationships. Jimmy asked me when my husband and I loved him so much. One time he said to me, what would you do if I ever left you? I said, you can't leave me. I'll be holding onto your leg. You won't even be able to walk. I'll be hanging on. You'll be wondering, well, let go of my leg. And I say, no, I'm staying right here. In other words, I want my customer too. If my customers started leaving me, I wouldn't know what to do. I'd pick up the phone call. Why are you leaving? But I would never say why, because I'll talk about that in questions. Never ask a customer why. Never. Match the customer need to the company mission. Now, if the company is really there, for instance, McKee Consulting is here for one reason only, and that is to make sure that the people that we train continue to have excellent communication skills with their customer. Now, by the way, they could also be very good at talking to their sweethearts. We always tell them this, you can take this home. If we forget to tell them that, they come up on the break anyway, and they say, Judy, did you ever think that you could teach this to people in their relationships with their husbands and children and like that? And I go, yes, we have thought about it, but because we don't have a PhD or a doctor's, we're not doctors of anything. I wish I had kept the name telephone doctor. She's no doctor, but that was a great name. But I didn't think of it. But what so is that the mission of you as a trainer, your intention as a trainer, must be to make sure that your wonderful agent knows how to communicate and knows they can take it home. I'll tell you a quick story. Sally did this wonderful. She does a whole 2-day class on the positive coach approach, how to coach people in the call center. Excuse me. And when she does this, by the way, it's online as well under Kind Communications. You can find it there. She has the training, and she's doing the training in the room. And she does the first day is almost all lectures, how to do it, what to do it, how to amend your ways, how to change your words, everything. The second day, she actually sits down with these coaches and coaches other people with them. Now, in the process of doing that, she met this wonderful coach who came up, who was next in line, and Sally went to coach her. And this woman says, Sally, I don't know how to tell you how absolutely wonderful the llama technique is. She said, I went home. She says, first of all, I want you to know I have a 17-year-old daughter. She's just 17. She's in high school, and she is a fabulous basketball player. And she happens to go to a poor school. We don't have a big, great team. So the team doesn't win a lot of games, but she is particularly good. And she said, so every day I want to relate to this daughter of mine, and she comes home from school, and every day I say something to her like, how'd the game go? And she says, my daughter says, we lost again, and walks up to her room and slams the door. Or something like that. And Sally said, well, if that's all true, then the question that you're asking her doesn't help her. And the mother says, I know, that's what I realized yesterday. And I wanted to know what kind of question to ask her. And you gave me several suggestions so that were definite, something that my daughter could say yes to, something my daughter could enjoy answering. And she said, so I went home and I tried a couple of the questions you gave me yesterday. And she said, my daughter came in from the game, slammed the door as she was coming in, and I wanted her to come into the kitchen and have a cup of coffee or cookie or something with me. And I wanted to relate to my daughter. And she said, when she came in the door and slammed it, I said, hi, hey, hurry up, come in the kitchen right now. Can you come in the kitchen right now? And the daughter slumped her shoulders, went, oh, all right, and came in. And the mother said, oh, I'm so glad that you got home earlier today than, excuse me, than I was expecting. It's great to see you, honey. Did you get any 3-pointers today? Now, you can see that question is direct. She might have said, no, I didn't get any 3-pointers. But she might say, yes, I got a 3-pointers. But to answer the question, how did the team do, is a terrible question. So instead, the daughter says, yeah, I hit 2 of them actually, but we still didn't win the game. Now her mother can go, oh, boy, that must be hard on you. That's the acknowledgement. You practiced so hard on those 3-pointers. Well, what else happened in the game that you got to feel good about yourself? What else? What else happened? Or some other question to engage the daughter. At any rate, she looked at Sally with tears in her eyes and told Sally, I had 15-minute conversation with my daughter for the first time in years, and I did it all using your llama technique. Nothing is like that. Nothing. That's where all of our intentions come true. So you can do the same thing, you know. And I often say the way that I learned it, of course, I have another story to tell, but I really, really, really do understand in a relationship what has to happen. You know, you have to have a relationship that actually works for everybody. So I didn't know that when I first started training. What I wanted to do was go in and teach everybody. And what I was thinking was, they don't know what they're doing. And that didn't help very much. I had to learn right away that I can't go into a classroom thinking there's something wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. They'll be just fine. And so the next thing that I have to blow my nose. I'm sorry. I got to step out of here. I'll cut this out. I'll edit it. Ah. Now I'm going to tell the relationship story. It's famous in call centers. It was anyway for about 20 years when I was really in my heyday. But it used to be called the Jimmy Story. It's online. I've got it a couple of places, the Jimmy Story. But at any rate, here's what happened and why I really learned and how I got it and how I want you to get it, because I want you to be able to create your own experience. Now, you can use my story if you want, but it's still my story. You need a story like that mother has. Now, if she were a coach, and she was a coach, by the way, so now she could use that story about her and her daughter, she and her daughter, how they learned to communicate, all because she had this experience. And other people will relate to the experience. Now, I have the Jimmy story, and that is how really I learned that I should not make other people feel wrong or stupid. Now, here is how I learned it. I had been married about 6 weeks. This man of my dreams, we had been going together for 2 years. We finally got married, and it was 6 weeks in. We were in a new house. And one morning, when we woke up, we got up early because he went to aerospace industry place, and he had to be there early every day. And we woke up, and we usually would have breakfast together, some juice, and off he would go to work. Well, on this given morning, he acted funny. Now, men don't always understand that, but women do. He seemed distant. He wasn't the same guy he was yesterday. I don't know what happened to him, but he wasn't the same. And so I said to him, honey, are you mad at me about something? You seem different, distant or something. He says, no, I'm not. I said, really, honey? Because you seem funny to me anyway. What's going on? And he goes, there isn't anything going on. And I said, honey, I can feel it. There's something here. What is it? You know, this is what I know. And I know when I know this. And he goes, will you please leave me alone and stop picking on me? I'm fine. Nothing's wrong. And he went off to work. So I did what every red-blooded person does. I called my best friend and I go, Sandy, you're not going to believe this, but I think he just realized he married a woman with 3 teenagers, and that was crazy. He shouldn't have done it. This is a wild, wild west place to live. He bought a house, he moved in, and now he's got teenagers all of a sudden all over the place, and he probably said, oh my God, how am I going to get out of this one? And she said, Sandy says to me, oh, he's not thinking that at all. He's crazy about you. I never knew a man who was more crazy about a woman than that guy is about you. And she said, but there is something. Now, why she said this is because she and I had attended, this was in the late 70s, we had attended a communications workshop where this guy came out in a $2,000 suit, and he walks over in the front of the room and he says, everybody in this room wants to dominate everybody else without being dominated. Everybody in this room wants to control everybody else without being controlled themselves. And in fact, everybody else and everybody in this room wants to be right, making everybody else wrong. That's what he said. And he stopped. And of course, I, being the troublemaker that I always have been and will be, instigator, etc., I raised my hand and he said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I don't do that." He says, "What are you talking about? You're doing it right now." And I went, "He's right. I'm doing it right now. I'm making him wrong." And he said, and Sandy said, "Remember that?" And I went, "Oh, yeah, I remember that." And she said, "Well, maybe you're making Jimmy wrong. Are you making him wrong? Are you making him wrong in your head? Maybe you're doing it quietly without saying anything. Maybe you're making him wrong." And he gets the feeling of that. And because he's got the feeling that you're making him wrong, he's feeling funny and acting funny. Maybe that's it. And I said, "Sandy, I don't know what to do about that. How would I know?" And she goes, "Well, I think," and these were the most important words, write these down. She said, "Maybe you ought to spend the day thinking about what you're thinking about." She said that to me. She said, "Why don't you spend all day thinking about what you're thinking about? Instead of just thinking things, think about why you thought that or what that meant to you when you thought that, etc." Now, that's a hard road to hoe. Let me tell you, I was in real estate sales then. And I went to work and I immediately forgot everything she said about thinking about what I'm thinking about. So instead, I went to work. I worked all day. I came home from work. Now, I get home from work and Jimmy comes. I get there before he does. I look down from the second story of the house and I see that he's parked his car really badly in the driveway in a way that I couldn't get my car out of the garage if I wanted to. So I just noticed in my mind right then that came to me, "Oh, I made him wrong already. He's not even in the house. I already made the way he parks his car wrong." So he comes in the house. Now he's like typical man. He doesn't remember what happened this morning. He's forgotten all about it now. He comes in the house and says, "Hey, Judy, come on, let's go to the store. I want to make an Irish stew." And I go, "Okay." And I come down the stairs. I get in the car. I'm trying to remember to think about what I'm thinking about. He pulls out of the driveway down to the corner and slides around the corner onto a busy street without making a complete stop. Now, I say, "Jimmy, oh, you know what? You should really make a complete stop when you get to the corner of that intersection. You're going to get a ticket." Believe me, I know, because this happened to me once and I hear myself making him wrong. He is 45 years old. I think he knows when a car should stop or not. I am not his mother. I am not his police department. I don't have to teach him how to drive. But yet I'm the one telling him what to do. Because why? Because he was doing it wrong. So, of course, I noticed that. Now we get into the parking lot of the grocery store on the corner of Van Nuys and Van Owen. Now it's got something else there. I think Starbucks or something, but then it was a Lucky Supermarket. And he pulls in. Now he's got to go up and down every lane to find just the right place to park. Now, why does he have to have just the right place? Well, he's a car guy and he doesn't want anyone to bump his great car. He loves cars and he doesn't just take such good care of them. He just loves the machine. And so he's driving looking. I could have been in the store. I'm making him wrong for the way he's parking and the way he's driving around the parking lot too. And so I go, "Oh boy, this is getting bad now." We get inside the store. Now, I mean to tell you, he picked celery hearts. You don't need that for a stew. He picked the most expensive carrots, the little ones already peeled, where you could peel your own carrots, be 10% of the price. Then when he picked tomatoes with little stems coming out of them. They were 3 times the price of a tomato. And then I'm making him wrong for every single thing. As he's doing this, I'm thinking, I don't say anything to him. I just realize what I'm doing. In my mind, I'm making him wrong, 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 wrong. And he finally pulls some lima beans off I can't believe it. I've never eaten a lima bean that I liked. I never want to eat lima beans. And I sure don't want it in my stew. So, but I stop him and I said, "Jimmy, we have to talk." Now he's not surprised. He's been with me for 2 years already. And he goes, "We do? Right here in the supermarket?" I said, "Yes, now." right now. We can't wait. This can't wait. And he says, okay, what? And I said, remember this morning when I accused you of making something funny? And he says, yeah. And he says, well, I said, well, that was true because here's what was happening. In my mind, I make you wrong all the time, and you found out. You realized it. You felt it. And I realize I make you wrong all the time, all day long. You should get out as soon as you can. Try to get out quick, quick before we might be able to return the wedding presents. It's only been 6 weeks. And you could get out while the getting is good because you should dump me. No one should ever stay with anybody who just makes them wrong all the time. And he stops me and he says, Judy, he says, he said, I had 2 wives before you and I don't want another one. I want you. And I had been married twice before too. Well, the first one was a naval officer, my children's father, and then I married an organ player in Las Vegas one night. I got that one annulled, however. But he reminded me, and he said, I don't want to do that. And I want you and I to make it through this rest of our lives right here in this relationship. And he says, by the way, I do the same thing to you. And I looked at him innocent, and I meant it when I said, how can you make me wrong? I'm always right. And he says, no, you're not. You're not always right. A lot of the times you're wrong. But he says, but I know how to fix it. Oh, I love when men say, I'll fix it. I'll take care of it. I'll do it. Men love that. I know it's not politically correct to say that, but I love it when men can fix things. I wish I had a man around the house now. I got a lot of things around here that need fixing. But at any rate, he says, we can fix this. And I said, how are we ever going to fix it? And he says, well, we're going to stop making each other feel wrong or stupid. You're not going to say anything that makes me feel wrong and stupid. And when you noticed you're judging and evaluating me and making me wrong and stupid, even if it's in your head, you're going to stop doing it. And by the way, I'm going to stop doing it to you too. And we're going to live a happy, happy life because we're not going to make each other feel wrong or stupid. And I said, well, if you will do that for me, I'll do it for you. We can do this together. He says, yes, we can. Because we love each other and we're going to love each other forever. And we're going to not love each other in 10 years from now if we're making each other wrong every day for 10 years. And I said, I know, I don't want to do that. He says, well, I don't want to do it either. He says, so why don't we just do that? And I said, okay. He says, well, we do have to clear up a couple of things. And I said, what? We do? What? What else is there? And he says, well, we probably should admit that we're liars. And I said, I'm not a liar. He says, oh, yeah, you're a liar. And how you are a liar is you told the priest as well as another minister somewhere in Vegas that you were going to love that man till death do you part. And you told the minister when we got married, you would love me till death do us part. And he said, and I did the same thing too. So we both lied before. I said, well, I still love them all on a cosmic sort of way. And he says, yeah, but he says, we have to tell the truth. We lied before, but this time we mean it. Okay? Let's just not make each other wrong and stupid. And he says, I'm going to make a new marriage wedding vow right here. And I said, what is it? And he says, I am going to promise you that I am going to take responsibility for you having a wonderful time for the rest of your life. Or the rest of mine. And I said, well, I will make that vow too, Jimmy. I will make the vow that I will make sure that I take 100% responsibility, not 50-50, 100% responsibility for your good time. And he says, we are just going to have one heck of a good time. And all I want you to know is that changed every way we talked. And sometimes we forgot, I'd have to say, Jimmy, are you making me wrong? And he would say, I am. I'm making you wrong. And I'd say, oh, okay. And he said, wait, I'm going to rephrase that. He says, one time when I played tennis and I lost the match and I came home and the first thing he said was, well, what did you do wrong? I mean, did you forget your serve? Did you take too bad of a shot? What happened with you? And I gave him all my reasons. And And then I said, but I think you're making me wrong. Like it's my fault I lost the game. He said, never mind, I'll change that. And he lowers his head, lifts his eyes to me, and he says, who did you lose to? And I said, so and so and so and so. He says, good, let's take him out back and beat the heck out of him. You see, it didn't work when he made me wrong, but that made me laugh. Of course, we're not going to beat anybody up. But he took my side and he loved me and he didn't make me wrong. Now, we spent the next 2 or 3 days checking how we did that with not only each other, but everyone, with our clients, with our customers, with his boss, with my kids. And we gave it up. We decided it didn't work and we weren't going to do it anymore. I started to put it in the training, and I tell that story in every training. Sally tells that one and her story too. She's got another one. But the point is, you have to learn it. You have to feel it. It has to be emotional. You've got to feel the emotional need of what's like when you actually stop making other people feel wrong or stupid. You will be shocked at how they behave. They change because they don't have to defend. Anyway, that's how you have a relationship to your trainee. That's how you have a relationship to your family. That's how you have a relationship to tell your trainee to have that kind of relationship with their customer. If you can do that, you will make miracles happen. Okay, that's it. I'm done here. Sorry I wasn't dressed up and fancy today. But you know what? I'll do my best. And on Friday, we do the next session, Friday morning at 10 o'clock. I hope to be live again. I would love that. And it's all going to be the llama training. It's going to be the llama technique on Friday. And I really mean this. You can learn it by going on our online training courses. You have to pay for those. These are free, but you have to pay for those. And it's worth it. If you have a call center, you should have everybody trained that way. I think that it would be smart. Or if you're a trainer, you could use that training in your classroom. That's what I would do. I'd say, wait a minute, they're going to let me have this for $300. I don't have to do anything. I will just take that training. I'll show it up on my board and I'll use that training. I mean, there's so many ways to use it in a way that'll make sure your agents are happy in their training, happy in their jobs, and that you get the thrill of seeing them do better. And when you do, guess what's going to happen? You're going to feel better too. All right, I'll see you Friday. If you don't attend these first 3, I'm not going to allow people to come in later because they won't know the intention. They won't know what I mean about a relationship, and they won't know the llama technique. So it's just a class for them, and it won't be deep enough. It won't matter. So thank you for coming. This is Judy McKee. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.